going to the gynecologist saves a lot. Yeah, because when it comes to contraception, our bodies are different.
Yes.
We are dynamic human beings, and with gynecologists, they'll tell you what works for you.
Yeah.
But what we do as African, honestly, I'll go tell Tana, no, this one works for me, and I'll feel it will work for you.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel like when we go to gynecologists, they are able to take us through. They look at our medical history, they look at our age. Do you want kids? And then some will argue. I know people will argue, but you can't afford the gynecologist. And I know there's that, but we have government facilities that you can go to. NHIF is covered. You go,
in a
cover gyna. Go to NHIF, go request to see a gyna. Start there. There are service providers up there. So with these things, you just don't batisha. You just go blind. You don't go blindly because we are diverse human beings.
I think I love the aspect of diversity because, like you started with naming, there's so many options that are available. And I love the idea of the gynecologist because I think for me, I'm those people who, when they go to see the doctor is just looking at you like, so you Googled. Okay. So for me, it was a big deal for me that I had the information before I even went to the hospital. So I know what to ask the doctor. And of course, Google isn't always right. So I was very intentional on picking where I'm reading the information from. So I'm reading from WebMD, I'm reading from Mayo Clinic, I'm reading from I'm forgetting the other one, but like they're written by doctors who are qualified in that field. So when I go and ask a question, I'm not saying I saw a TikTok video with I don't know, a 48-year-old who has never heard anything about contraceptives saying 1, 2, 3, right? I am saying I read on WebMD or I read on Mayo or I read on somethinghealth.org. Does this mean it is not true? Explain it to me. And I think that served me. I love that there are hospitals that are good, like there are government hospitals that are working so nicely, but my experience wasn't just great. You go into the hospital, I have done my research, I'm like, this is what I want, so that the guy can tell me, this is not good for you for 1, 2, 3 health reasons. This is what I would recommend. Maybe they are like, no, I can't give you that. You don't have a child. You're not married. I'm like, okay, first of all, hold on. What does my marriage have to do with this? Does that mean my husband is also getting the same contraceptive I'm getting? I mean, you can't put an IUD in him. It doesn't make sense. And it was really bad. And if I had not been like in the space and learned how to fight for myself, I might not have ended up getting what I needed from that space. And I think it's really, really important that we have all this information because in that clinic setup, I met a couple of women. I am a talker, so I will start talking. I started asking them questions because we're all seated outside the clinic, right? What's your experience like? And the way I learned that the hospital was pushing specific forms of contraceptives, and I'm like, why did you pick that? Because no, I also want to have information before I go in. And they're like, no, the doctor told me. I'm like, but why? Like, what did she explain why you were picking that? Ati hapana, aliniambia tulichukue hii.
Why?
Exactly. I feel like why? But they don't know. I'm like, did they give you other options? Because some of them had come to like get some of their contraceptives removed because they weren't working for their bodies. I'm like, how did you end up with this one? The doctor told me. I'm like, but did you do any tests? Did you have a conversation and were you given options? Kuna options. I'm like, they don't even have information. You are supposed to give me information to make an informed choice, but instead you're making the choice for me. And when you meet somebody who has made the choice for themselves, you shame them into it. I didn't actually end up getting contraceptives in that hospital. And I had to go to a different hospital, which was super expensive for me because I'd gone to a government hospital. And near time, I was a struggling young person. I still am. But you see, like that whole fiasco could have been avoided if I had if they treated me how I wanted to be treated or how I should have been treated in the first place. And I am forever grateful to Google and information. That's underestimated.
So there's a gap between government hospital and providing for us the.
Oh my God, yes. But not just government hospitals, because I've been to the first time I went to one was a private hospital. I was 22. Do you know what the gynecologist told me? You're too young to have sex.
What?
I think there's just a very healthcare providers. There's a very big sort of bias that they have about young women and our ability to make choices for ourselves. Because my experience was not as related to contraceptives, but I really have extra painful cramps. But now they're not just during my period, they're all through the month. So if I'm ovulating, I'm cramping. If I am doing what? PMS, I'm cramping. During my period, I'm cramping. So it did not make sense to me. I go to hospital. I explain all of my symptoms. I am expecting
They help you.
an answer. So I go through a urinalysis test, I go through an ultrasound, and then they're like, nothing is wrong with you. But the questions they keep asking is, are you sexually active? What is my activity? What does my sexual activity have to do with anything? Just find what is wrong with me. Like just, but your endometrium is fine. Oh, CJ, you don't have anything. So if there's nothing, why do you keep asking about my sexual activity? So I think they should, the bias. When you're a healthcare provider, you need to have that bias.
Keep it on
Uko chini kwa mattress, kwa suitcase yako uko chini kabisa. You leave it home.
The one you usually take once a year when you're going for vacation. Keep it
there. Please just come here with an open mind, because by the time I am coming to you for solutions, I already know what I want. I don't want you to tell me oh, Sidri, you might change your mind when you're 35. If I want a hysterectomy right now, I want it right now, and I know why I want it.
But if I change my mind, I can always go for adoption.
Yes, like I already know the consequences of my actions. I do not need you to come here and tell me, oh, maybe your husband. Which husband? Which husband? Which husband?
Also, if he wants kids and I don't, he's not the right fit for me.
Which husband is this who might want kids when I don't want them? Like these are things we talk before we even get into that bed. So he knows and understands what I want. And as a matter of fact, he's outside here this door. Anangoja unifanyie chenye nimekuja kufanyiwa hapa. Sasa ukianza kuniambia ati I might get a husband. My husband is here. He's very supportive, so why aren't you?
I think the whole concept of especially reproductive health and contraceptives is one thing that is really, really misconstrued in the spaces that we are in. It doesn't matter that this doctor has a PhD, because I have seen gynecologists who, if I was dying and he was the only person who would have saved me, I think you all know him, but I will not say his name in this video. You all know him, and you know that I hate him from the bottom of my heart, because I will tell you that and the way he talks about women's bodies and the autonomy and access to contraceptives and access to safe abortion, even for survivors of rape. He's talking about it like the statements I've heard in this. If I was dying, so I'm just putting it out there, and he's the only person who could save me. Please let me die in peace. Thank you. May my death be my last act of rebellion against a system that is not serving me, right? But I think it's important that is something like, remember your studies as our healthcare provider. You're not here to give me moral guidance. If I want that, I will go to my mom, I will go to my pastor, I will go to the sheikh, I will go
a lot of guidance out here.
I will bring philosophy, right? For you, I want my health. There's a doctor who told me to get pregnant and it will cure my chronic back pain. How does that help? And I'm like, explain it to me. It just happens.
It gets even worse. From all the women I've talked to, back pain gets worse once you get pregnant.
I'm like, please.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, that would have been somebody being told that who has no, who doesn't know they can question. Because the medical professionals, we treat them as if they're the second gods of the world.
Yeah.
For good reason,
Yeah.
right? But use your power and use it wisely. Like, stop misusing power just because you have it.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful that they are like good doctors as well. Because where I ended up getting my services, this doctor was talking to me about consent. I have to sign a consent form. I'm like, I have to what?
Yeah. Because when you don't want to have a checkup, for instance, you say I don't want. When you're talking to them, they'll say okay, and it stops there.
Oh my god!
You come when you're ready.
I know.
Yeah, they're good doctors outside here. I don't know.
Oh my god! I think you've just now that you're talking about consent, I'm just remembering about the other things I wish somebody told me. Like, we talk about the dismissal of women's pain,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to menstrual health,
Yeah.
or rather reproductive health. And like when you're having an IUD insertion, you know they still have to open up your cervix and everything. I went with a friend because I had taken a friend of mine before and I'd seen all the tools, and I'm like, don't look at them. I will make sure what they're putting inside your body is like clean, everything. Just don't look at it, because when you see it, you're like, no, that's not going inside of it. And I'm like, we're still using such archaic tools for in the 21st century. And then at least for me, I got some painkillers, but they were not strong enough to take me through the pain, or rather the discomfort. It's discomfort, it's pain, whichever way you want to term it. And I'm reading here that people will be getting anesthesia to get like a procedure because it's men, and women you have to sit there and have them open up your insides and feel like they're pulling the insides outside and inserting the IUD, and they're like, it's just an outpatient procedure, it's not too bad.
I usually see these debates on TikTok, women arguing, why am I not getting any form of pain reliever while I am undergoing a major surgery? Like childbirth. People literally do not get pain relievers.
No.
during childbirth. They don't. While men have kidney stones removed and they get morphine, they get the best painkillers. They get anesthesia. People are even asking for anesthesia during their tattoos. Yes. But if you're giving birth, you have to do it naturally.
Yeah, because you're a woman.
I hate that
you have to
term.
wash it. I hate that term. Naturally. You make it seem like having a surgery is not natural. Excuse me, I am dying in pain here.
Major surgery.
I know.
This lack of pain relievers and trivializing women's pains, it is what is leading people to think that, I don't know what kind of strength people think women have. Actually, you will give birth today and in like 3 days you're supposed to be back at the office.
Oh, back at the office and having sex with your husband, honey. Please do not deny him of this control.
We have not even talked about the husband stage. The husband stage when you give birth.
Oh yeah, I heard that and I was horrified.
Yes.
You know what the husband stage is? It is horrible. It is like when you give birth, sometimes like you get tears. So the doctor, when they're stitching you back up, they add an extra stitch, which is not needed because it is not a part that has been torn. So they add an extra stitch or two, so that your vagina is tighter, and then your husband can enjoy sex better. And this is done without the consent or the knowledge of the woman. Sometimes I think husbands can request it.
Yes.
But like as a woman, I did not say it. I did not consent to it.
I was not even asked.
I wake up and I'm like,
I have a stitch, an extra stitch. Because my husband wants me to be tight. It's not legal,
it's not,
but because
it's a practice.
medical provisionals usually just take the opinion of the husband.
Yes, it's bigger than the opinion of me, who is carrying this around, who has to go through the healing. It's mine. I would divorce you the next day and not give you custody to your children. I would fight battles that you have never seen. Also, I don't know what I would be doing with such kind of a man, unless you have consent concealed the entirety of who you are, because if you do not, that's lack of respect for women's booties. That's literally hating women. So if your husband is doing this, tafuta lawyer.